Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, real quick, it's been a while. Just want to say a quick prayer to those who lost somebody in Virginia Beach at the municipal court. I don't know if you heard in the news. Um, it was a active shooter, and basically, public works employee went into the building and started shooting. They said 8 to 11 people injured or killed. Just want to say a quick prayer to those families affected by it and pray for a speedy recovery to the officers. Pray that we understand that active shooter, uh, wherever the case may have been, there's a lot of them lately, whether it's churches, schools, public places, government buildings. Took a security course, a while back, a couple weeks ago, where they talked about the Navy Yard shooting, and the guy actually taught the course. He was actually there, and it was a different perspective on those shootings for active shooters. So let's pray for the families affected, and this is why we do what we do, to train, to teach, to empower those to not only get more knowledge to apply it. So we talked about the last video with First Amendment, Second Amendment, and then we talk about all the amendments, but the Fourth Amendment as well. But just to recap on the Gleek case, the Gleek versus Knief case, that's basically talking about where someone was recording officers in Boston, and he was arrested and tried due to him recording and using his First Amendment rights. So the last video kind of talked about a little bit. Public space is clearly their right, and also the Fourth Amendment rights were violated without his arrest by probable cause. So again, we defined it a little bit last time, but the probable cause is basically having a reason to arrest. I made plenty of examples last time. We were talking about if a tail lights out, if a officer approaches a vehicle or a person's, and they suspect the reason that they need to make an arrest, i.e., they smell marijuana, or they see something that's out of line, they see a weapon, they see any type of drug paraphernalia. Those are just examples of a probable cause. It could be, again, speeding, or they see a tail light out or a tag, it's not renewed. That could be probable cause to pull them over. So there's a reason to pull someone over. If they don't have a probable cause or a reason, they shouldn't be pulling you over or stopping you and asking you questions. So the First Amendment rights violated in the Simon Gleek case, the Simon Gleek and Knief case, I'm sorry, and citizen rights to film government officials, including law enforcement officers, and discharge their duties in the public space was basic, vital, and were well-established liberty safeguarded by the First Amendment. So those was violated. Again, I said in the last video, they're making it more difficult to utilize our amendment rights. They're having, like I talked about, the Jefferson City, Missouri circuit court case where someone they actually have laws in place where you can't record officers performing their duties. So again, we need to find definition of police discretion. So discretion. So basically, it's police officers given the right opportunity to act according to their discretion, stopping people, arresting them, and using force to bring about an arrest. It means the power and ability to make decisions. So this is moral. This is more ethics and morals based. So when you took police ethics course, or any type of ethics course, the upbringing, the environment, the training that you learn, and you're applying all those things together to make an arrest is discretion, given the ability to make a decision. That's why critical thinking is so important. So when you're acting, especially in an up-tempo or high-tempo situation, or something life-threatening, you have to make a discretionary call. Using the discretion to make an arrest sometimes is different definitions, is different police discretions, depending on the person that is making that call. And it could vary from, making a call to pull someone over, making a call to make an arrest. Some people might one officer may let go, another officer may not let go. It just depends on the person, the ethics piece, morals piece of that person. What is value to the officer? Do they take their job seriously? Do they feel like that something small can be let go, or can it be bigger than what it is? Or is the officer is strict by the book, no gray area, all black and white, and they go in and they make that arrest, so they get that person a citation or penalize that individual. So the police discretion is very important. It's an ethics issue, and I'm sure again a lot of academies are doing training on police ethics, but it's something that's within that person. So the discretion and the probable cause kind of go hand in hand to me a little bit, because again, police discretion is the ability to officer to make decisions based off their morals and their ethics, what they value as ethical, even though they've been taught and trained by the law. Same with probable cause, it ties hand in hand where they say, okay, this may be a issue to pull someone over, so it's just a lot of ethical issues, and that's just not with just policing, but just with anything. And integrity is a big thing. In the military, they talk about integrity. They talk about being honest. They talk about ethics and doing the right thing, even when you're not in uniform. So it's the same concept, but in anything that you do, ethics plays a big role. So police discretion is very important. When an officer makes a decision to make an arrest or pull someone over or even try to entertain what's going on, they're using their ethics, using what they're taught, and using what their upbringings and experiences. So what they experience in their everyday job that makes them make the decisions that they make. If they deal with the same case, the same type of, say they're dealing with drugs, or they're dealing with domestic violence, or they're dealing with violence, or anything simple as a traffic ticket or a parking ticket or whatever it may be, that ethics and then that police discretion is a big role. System variables is another thing I looked up and found out about system variables, where different things causes that probable cause of police discretion to be used. There was an example that was given: if a witness, a crime was committed and that witness was identified, or that potential suspect was identified and brought to a witness for a lineup. Someone identified that witness, or identify that suspect, that could be a system variable to make or break arrest or indictment. If it's taking an arrest and then, to trial, due process, and then indictment. So with system variables, this is a big thing too. It's different things is going to play into that arrest. You have different situations that change. Example of a system variable, I gave one with the lineup, but this could be a variable where some evidence, evidence is being used and it's placed, or it's not even so much placed, but it's also a reason arrest can be done and they have to get a warrant for it. So if they smell marijuana and someone doesn't want them searching their vehicle, they smell it and they arrest them, then they have to get a warrant to search and find find those paraphernalia. So that's a system variable. So like I said, there's a lot of different things we recapped on with the Gleek and Knief case. Eventually, the Terry versus Ohio, that's more of a Fourth Amendment issue, but it's very similar to where someone basically in that case, the Terry versus Ohio, police officer may stop a suspect on the street, and the first thing about probable cause to arrest, which is again the probable cause if you don't have a reason to stop, if he's not breaking the law, you don't have any description or reason to pull someone over or stop them, then you can't stop and frisk. So it was a big landmark case, and that case has driven a lot of different things with stop and frisk. It's still an issue today where people feel like they gotta. I put a video on my page where officer pulls up on a guy in his home and is saying that he needs ID. That's an example of stopping and saying, hey, if you don't have, and he quoted the law and he said, hey, if I haven't committed a crime, when you have probable cause to arrest me, therefore you can't ask me for my ID. So those different suspicions, this is what the Terry versus Ohio case was big on. This is, stopping and frisking someone without reason. If you have a reasonable suspicion that the person is committing or is about to commit a crime and has a reasonable belief that the person may be armed and presently dangerous. Again, that goes to police discretion. That was a big issue back then. Police discretion. They felt like it was a reason to search that person, and it's a gray area because again, if you see someone that's suspicious and they feel like body language or they're giving off some nonverbal cues and you've been taught in the academy looking for a certain thing, and then you feel like you need to stop and ask questions, then it's a catch-22. Again, we have to look at the officer's shoes as well. We got to look at what would you do if you was him or her. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal. It's a hard thing to talk about when you're looking at it from outside the glass and you're not looking at it from the other side. Another thing that I threw in there with the stop and frisk, I'm gonna put all this stuff on my webpage again, the charts and the graphs. I'm gonna put some statistics on there to see. I'm trying to break down the different races. Who gets more stop and frisk? Who gets more of this Terry versus Ohio more than anybody? So I'm gonna put a big chart on there, graph that talks about use of force, frisk, stops, and we're gonna look at the totals. We're going to look at how many African Americans, how many whites, how many Latinos, Hispanics. We're going to look at the different races and see how many more of these stop and frisk are happening. And you got to look at, again, when you come to statistics, you got to look at when it happened. This is, and then also look at where did it happen at. A lot of these places, they do big cities. This data that I'm looking at right now is happening in 2011. So obviously we're just looking at this time frame. This is 2018 and about to be in the middle. So we got to look at this, the year difference, and then expect these numbers to probably increase or decrease. It's just it's variable data. But the raw NYPD data is in New York Police Department. This is what they done, and stop and frisk. We're looking at 100 blacks and Latinos. This is and then as 100 meaning the graph, 100% of the graph, but it basically in total numbers is 574,483 people, blacks and Latinos, that was stopped and frisked, and they all color coded. You got whites, which is 100 off the graph, is green, and then you're looking at the chart is 61,804 total, and then you're looking at others. So that's including Asians, and you're talking about the other races, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders. You got other races. These are also 49,437 people total that's been stopped and frisked. And also it has a median where the use of force and the frisks are in the meets the middle, where you have more of the Latinos and the African Americans, more so the Pacific Islanders and Native Americans. Their use of force is 148,079, and their frisks are 381,704 people, which equals all totals. If you add it up between everyone, it's going to be 685,724 people. So you got all these different things all mixed up in there. So you're going to look at the graph. I'm going to put it on my webpage. You can take a look at it. But again, this data is probably increased or decreased. This is this is back in 2011. So this is 7 years ago. But this is just a little snippet or snapshot of how many stop and frisks that occur in just this one area, and just in New York. I'm sure in LA, you're looking at Atlanta, you're looking at New Orleans, you're looking at all around the country. Those numbers can be up or down or variable. So kind of just highlighting different things. We talked about the police transparency bill. Right now, as of March of this year, as advocates are pushing the bill to be released to show officer discipline records. This isn't just highlighted in Baltimore, Maryland, but it's all over the country. You know what I'm saying? This police transparency bill will be able to have public record of what officers do. So a lot of these record complaints has been filed to their internal affairs or OPS or whatever, however you call them in different states. These will give the ability for people to see what these officers has done and what has been done about it. This gives some light, so it gives people kind of a more or less accountability for what's been going on in our communities. So this transparency bill, I'm gonna do some more research, put it on my page to find out when legislators are urging to push it through the bill. Right now is with Congress. It depends on what it has to go through state law, the governor's office, city council to be passed, but right now, a lot of people are pushing this transparency bill, especially in the highlights for all the stuff that's going on with police. A lot of the complaints have been filed, people not getting the answers. So therefore, this bill will hopefully get people able to see the records. And it's also released upon request. It's more like a public request, kind of like with news media, they give it a public request to release records. So hopefully this stuff will open up corruption from police and allows cops that are doing stuff that's not by the book to be can be checked and disciplined for their actions. So just kind of tying up a lot of this stuff. The Fourth Amendment, I put it out last time. We can also look at different other amendments as well, but the most important ones that are really like touching police, are the First and Fourth Amendment. This is give police powers to not only, have the ability to search and seize, but having a warrant, but also it's a lot of people getting stopped for no reason. And we got to, shed the highlight on these amendments because, again, if you don't know what's going on, you're going to fall subject to it. Just to talk about something else off the topic a little bit. I'm going to take a different turn with the website. I've been talking a lot about, the laws, the police racial profiling. Now I'm gonna jump into different stuff like mental health. I want to talk about mental health because mental health is a big piece, not only for the Black community, but everyone that's dealing with the leaders. So I'm taking my pages. I'm taking my taking a turn a little bit to where we're focused on different other topics. I'm gonna cover Stand Your Ground. And also on my page, I want to start highlighting more what officers are doing in the community. There are officers. I saw something interesting today in Atlanta, and one of the officers, detectives, is forming Clippers, cops and Clippers, or Clippers versus cops. They've been forming these things and to help the community build that community trust, to get people involved and talking about what's going on in the community, teaching and doing the same very things that I'm doing. So I want to talk about it more. So to Second Amendment, well-regulated militia being necessary to security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So this is the big thing with the gun rights. A lot of the shooters purchasing weapons and stuff like that. So the Second Amendment just basically gives us our right to bear arms, basically keep weapons in the confines of being able to protect our property, our people that we love, and assets. So that was a big debate with the gun laws, and they're trying to ban guns and us having weapons. But this is the Second Amendment. This is another heavily debated topic. But being able to keep our weapons, having concealed weapons, having open carry, being able to bear our arms as citizens, and being able to. But with that, with balance, this is why we have a lot of these shootings, because when we don't know what confines and what boundaries we need to have with these gun laws. So this is why people go out and shoot up schools. This is why they shoot up churches now. Public, a safer workplace. You saw the news of Virginia Beach police where guy walked in with a gun and shot and killed people. Just walked up in there. So we have to have boundaries when it comes to these gun laws. I do agree with that, but I don't disagree with people not having guns. It's just about being trained to use them, knowing when to use them, and all that. Mental health is a big thing, because people, life happens. People lose their job. People have stuff going on in their life, and then they feel like they need to use violence or use a weapon. So, Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Third Amendment, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of the war, but in manner to be prescribed. That law is the old law with the military. They can use homes to hide them in the time of war. But laws been put out where they can be in someone's home during peacetime, but it's basically saying no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any homes. They shouldn't be staying in anybody's house. Not much applicable to law enforcement, but it's the Third Amendment. Fourth Amendment, we already know the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued upon probable cause. Again, that key word right there, probable cause, a reason, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So not having a warrant is a big thing. Basically, you have to have a warrant. You got a reason, probable cause to search. You need a warrant describing where, what's being searched, and making sure the officer searches a home. So having a warrant is a big thing. So that's part of your rights amendment. People searching cars, houses, persons without a warrant. That includes identification. Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless in a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice be put in jeopardy of the life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be witnessed against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. This is kind of all applies to the grand jury, the laws in court. So you can't be tried unless you're indicted or by a grand jury or jury of your peers selected in a case. You got to have pretty much a trial. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's military, they have a different way. Naval forces or land forces and militia, you have the UCMJ, you have different laws for the military. But in this case, this is basically talking about you getting a trial and making sure you're indicted and tried by the judge, the jury. Amendment 6, call for prosecution. The accused shall enjoy the right to speedy public trial, partial jury, in state and district where the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and causes of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel. So this is meaning that everybody has a right to go to trial, to determine, have lawyers and present to defend them for the crime committed. And in that case where basically you have someone represent you in court to defend you for whatever the crimes that you've been charged of. So this is where the trial, right to a speedy and public trial. So that's in any case. That's the basic amendment. And like I said, I can go over these more in detail, kind of going through them quickly, but for the sake of time. But if you have specific ones you want me to just break down, I can break them down. I can post stuff on the webpage you can read if you want more broken down material for the amendments, but I'm just kind of going through each one. In suits of common law, it's Amendment 7, where the value and controversy shall exceed $20, the right of jury by right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by jury shall otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. So, right by trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by jury shall otherwise be re-examined in any court. So, once you tried, can't be retried unless it's appealed. So, common law or whatever kind of law, court, circuit statutory law, you have a right by trial by jury, and that's not waivable. So, anyone try to say you have a jury or court or trial, that's the wrong answer. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Amendment 8, that's kind of self-explanatory. No bail. Once bail set, that's it. No fines imposed. It's very, very basic. No cruel and unusual punishments inflicted upon you. If you set bail, you're good to go into your trial, your court date. Amendment 9, enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Very self-explanatory. So I'm not gonna go too many more of them, but this is basic. The big ones we covered. Just again, this is stuff that you can do research on. Go on your own, look at research on your amendments. I'll post them again on the webpage. You can look through them and just look for yourself, and just educate and pass the word. There's so much material on this stuff, but you see your news. Again, I keep saying it, you watch it, it's there, where a lot of people are going through the same stuff every single day, where police is doing the stuff that they're doing as far as not just exercising their rights. Don't be scared to exercise your rights. You know them. Once you know them, you have to apply them, despite the situation. So again, appreciate the video. Please subscribe, share, pass the stuff on. Continue to keep pushing stuff out. Again, I'm going to try to take a different turn. We're going to talk about different topics, mental health in the Black community, mental health with policing. Maybe if I can spill some light on a little bit of stuff that I know about mental health, then people will have a better understanding with that. And active shooters, since it's a real big thing right now, active shooters, and teaching. I'm sure people are going over it, but going over what to do in an active shooter situation, and knowing how to respond to it, how to prepare for it, get your people involved to train on it. And you not only just at work, there's schools, there's churches, especially the churches. Churches should have an active shooter plan, especially now the mosque, the churches are getting hit with now with active shooters. People coming and shooting up churches. This is the end time. So people, we got to do training. In my church, I've done active shooter plans. I've done training where to show what happens when something goes down. So I'm gonna cover active shooters, and then we're just gonna talk about different topics, stand your ground. We'll talk about community service, and I'm going to keep posting stuff on the webpage. And again, it's not to bash police, but to teach, educate our communities. Same type of topics. Educate them and train our communities to know, hey, we got to do something about it. We got to get out here and make sure we're safe. So please stay tuned. Thank you. God bless.